The movie begins 13 years after the legendary death of Fire Lord Ozai. In the beginning, Aang and other young airbenders were heading towards the air temple. So on their way, they decided to race themselves there. But Monk Gyatso distracted Aang by sitting on him in the air and making the journey harder for him, which eventually ended with Aang losing the race. After he lost the race, Monk Gyatso advised him that as an airbender and the Avatar, he should know when to show restraint and let others win, even if he has the power to win easily, as a lot of people place their hopes on him. Just before Gyatso finished, the Fire Nation attacked and burned the air temple to the ground, with every single airbenders alive in it. On spur of moment, a grown-up Aang wakes up, and it happened that he was just dreaming about the past that made him become the last airbender alive. Appa his bison consoled him. Then he geared up and continued his journey back to his old home that was destroyed by the Fire Nation to find closure. He arrived at the air temple not too long after, and all he could see that was left behind were relics and memories of his painful past. He brought out from his bag an ancient statue of a very powerful avatar, Avatar Sonam, after which he placed it where other avatar statues were. All of a sudden, he noticed he wasn't alone, so he instructed Momo to go outside with Appa. Before he could finish talking, he was attacked aggressively by a strange group of 3 people. In the process of the attack, while defending, Aang tried his best to find out who they were and what they want, but they paid no attention to him and kept hauling massive attacks. Meanwhile, one of the other member of the group found what they were looking for, which was the statue of Avatar Sonam, and it was at this moment Aang got serious. He kept on evading their attacks while wondering what they would want to do with an ancient relic. While facing Aang head-on, one of them named Kelak angrily told him their group is named the Denied, and they're tired of living in a world where benders have all the powers and controls everything. So their mission here was to change that. While they were still conversing, Jai fired a flaming arrow towards them, so Aang had no other choice but to abandon the statue and save Kelak first. The arrow had an enormous effect on the building, shaking its very foundation, and with time, the building started collapsing slowly. Kelak was surprised. Aang sacrificed all to save her. But following instinct, she picked up the map from the broken statue and ran off, as that's what they came for. Even after everything, Aang still rushed out of the building to hold it steady, so it won't crush another member of the Denied that was beneath it. Aang couldn't hold it much longer, so he went into the Avatar state immediately, after which he placed the falling building back into its natural position and bended 2 great rocks to hold it place so it won't fall off again. Appa caught him before he fell off, and they headed out of the air temple back to Republic City. The scene then shifted to Katara giving a speech in Republic City about how they've finally reunited the world and created a place where benders and non-benders alike can live in harmony. Immediately, she finished her speech. Aang finally returned from his journey. Katara was so happy to see Aang, but in the process of welcoming him, she discovered he was hurt. When night approached, she used her healing abilities to try easing his injuries and pain. While she was at it, they discussed about the Denied and how dangerous they're becoming, even without bending. Katara became extremely worried about him, because if the Denied are willing to go as far as killing the Avatar to get the map, then it must be very delicate also, the fact that he has been spending an unhealthy amount of his time at the air temple alone, trying to hold on to his past. Aang revealed his fear that as the last airbender, if he dies, his entire culture and heritage dies with him. After Katara consoled him, he made up his mind to find out more about Avatar Sonam and why the Denied are after her map. To find out more, he connected with his past avatars, and starting from Avatar Roku, he tried to find out if he knows anything about Avatar Sonam, but he and a whole lot of other avatars told him they've not heard of her. Aang eventually found himself on a lonely desert in the spirit world, and it was there he finally met ancient cranky avatar named Sian, who knew about Sonam. Avatar Sian then told him of the legend of the lost avatar. Sonam was an avatar in the golden age of airbenders, and according to legend, her staff has the power to channel the vast energy of the spirit world, thereby granting its wielder immense power. Avatar Jan then told him that communication with her is nearly impossible, as many avatars have tried and failed, and it's almost like she never existed. Aang persisted for even the littlest information about her, so Shan told him where Sonam and her staff disappeared, which was at TGE Peak of Mount Bayou. Hearing this, Aang wrote a message to Katara, explaining why he has to leave, and how important it is he goes on this journey. Then, he told her to gather up the rest of the team, as he cannot allow Sonam's powerful staff to fall into the wrong hands. Meanwhile, at the Fire Nation, one of Zuko's guards received the message from a bird Aang sent, and immediately related the message to Zuko, who is now a Fire Lord and the leader of the Fire Nation. The same way Zuko received a message, so also did Sokka received at the Southern Water Tribe, and Toph at the Earth Kingdom to join Aang at Mount Bayou as backup. Aang got to the mountain on short notice, although the climb up was as hard as it could be. Heck was extremely exhausted on getting there, but when he looked up, he saw something glowing hidden inside the mountain, so he proceeded closer to check it out. Using his airbending skills, Aang bended the snow that was covering it out, and it was then he discovered it's a glowing iceberg, similar to the one he was stuck in for years, and someone happened to be stuck inside this one as well. Thinking it might be Sonam and wanting to help her out, he shattered the iceberg with his bending, causing a massive burst of energy to elope from TG Mountain and shake its very foundation. Aang rushed to pick up the person, but before he could ask him who he was, the mountain started falling apart. Without wasting time, Aang carried the strange man on his back in bid to escape before the mountain debris crushed them both. When they got outside, a large ice almost fell on them, leaving them no choice but to separate for the meantime. Withstanding a lot of dangers, Aang still tried his best to catch up with the stranger, as he was unconscious and couldn't help himself. Aang finally caught him, and when they were about to fall, he went into the Avatar state and used his firebending to save them both. Even at that, he still collided against a rock and lost his balance, and it was at this moment the stranger revealed himself to be an airbender. Using his ancient airbending technique, he made a large ball of ice, then, with an enormous force, held in place a falling rock long enough for Appa and the others to come to their rescue. Katara and the others were happy to see no harm came to Aang, but even more concerned about the person he brought with him. When they landed, Katara used her healing abilities to help him recover, and he eventually did, but was very discombobulated. Seeing Toph, he wanted to attack because she was an earthbender, but Aang stopped him, insisting they're all friends here. After a little conversation, he figured Aang is the last airbender left, so he immediately asked for Sonam's staff, explaining that it's a gift, and with it, Sonam was able to channel the vast power of the spirit world, enabling her city Jarana to flourish and become the greatest city in the world, / also an air nomad utopia. The stranger named Taga told them the story of how Sonam raised him up and eventually gave him, a non-bender, the power to bend air using her powerful staff. Aang ran outside as he was overwhelmed by what he just heard, but also very happy, as there's now a chance that he can bring back airbending to the world. Toph quickly reminded them that the Denied have the map. Hearing this, Taga suggested he knows where the staff could be, and they'll need to pass the Endless Ocean on the other side of the world to get there. Zuko argued there's nothing out there, but he insisted there's an island there, and they'll need to hurry and start the journey immediately, claiming it'll be a tough ride. On short notice, they started the journey, and Tagsh explained they'll travel Ancient's path through the sky, ones that previous air nomads learned by following the great air bison hurls that taught them airbending. Aang was so happy to be on this journey with Taga, as he no longer feels alone and doesn't carry the weight anymore of being the last airbender. The next morning, Taga proposed to show Aang how powerful their element can be when they work together. Taga used the wind to fly Aang around, and although he wasn't in tune at first, he eventually got the hang of it and started flying for real. On short notice, Taga joined him in the air, and with the combination of their bending abilities, they each helped each other to stay afloat in the air without falling. It was like they bonded on the air and became one, each depending on the other air-bending abilities. It was such a magical moment for Aang, as he never imagined this was even possible. At night, Aang then asked Taga how he ended up in the iceberg, and he told him it happened after the Earth Kingdom attacked Charana. According to him, he and Sonam managed to drive them to Mount Bayou while fighting side by side, and that was the last he remembers. Aang knew only an Avatar could put him in that sphere, so he just assumed Avatar Sonam put him there to save his life, and Taga concurred. Just as they were still conversing, the Denied spotted them from afar, so to avoid risking him getting to TG staff before them, G ordered her men to kill him, against Kalak's wishes, who was now soft-hearted because Aang spared their lives. Aang and Taga tried to stop their arrows from getting through, but some still penetrated the aircraft. By this time, the Denied already had them pinned, but when Taga started crushing their ships with his bending, Aang intervened, so he wouldn't kill them even though they're enemies. The Denied eventually lost sight of them as they all headed into the mighty immortal storm. Taga beckoned on Aang to come with him so they can both clear a path ahead for the ship to get through. So seeing there's no other way to get to Taji Island, Aang succumbed and went with him. Meanwhile, a storm struck the ship and it started losing air pressure and was about to crash. So Zuko, Katara, and Toph tried their best to keep it moving and afloat. Aang noticed he was losing sight on them, so he insisted on going back to help them, but Taga refused, claiming if they stop now, then they'll all die. Looking at the circumstances surrounding him, Aang decided to continue destroying tornadoes with Taga, thereby abandoning the ship and merely hoping they'll make it through. The ship almost fell onto the sea, but with the combined effort of Katara dividing the sea, Toph sealing the metal roof, Zuko giving the ship juice, and Sokka on the wheels, they eventually made it back in the air. When Aang came back on the ship, Katara was so angry with him for not coming back to help them, and further insisted they turn back and how home. But Aang refused, saying this was his only chance to bring back airbenders to the world. When they got to the eye of the storm, Aang and Taga jointly generated enough air and pushed out a way out of the immortal storm. On spur of moment, they finally made it out of the storm, and on short notice they hot to an island, which is a final resting place for lion turtles. Aang was confused on where to start looking for the staff, so Taga advised him to connect with Avatar Sonam, the long-lost avatar, insisting the spirit of the lion turtles will guide him. Taga wanted to follow him on the journey, but Katara refused, claiming they could really use his help on the ship if the denied are close behind. Taga almost didn't agree, but Aang insisted he'll be fine on his own, and Taga should stay and help his friends in case of any danger. Avatar Aang set out almost immediately on a solo journey of finding Sonam's staff. On his way, he decided to meditate to find his way, and that was when he saw Sonam's spirit and followed her as a guide. Meanwhile, back at the ship, Katara asked for Taga's whereabouts, seeing he was not on the ship, so Sokka told her he wandered off in a particular direction. Katara caught up with Taga, questioning him on where he was headed to. Taga insisted all he wanted to do was just to protect Aang. While they were at it, Aang got to a particular temple that requires the Avatar's bending of the four elements to unlock, so immediately bended the four elements in no time. Back outside, Taga began showing his true colors slowly, as he claimed there will never be peace between the four elements. Using the Avatar state, Aang unlocked the last part of the seal, which in place released a massive burst of energy in the air. Seeing Aang is at the last step of retrieving the staff, Taga began attacking Katara. It was a fierce fight between them, but Taga had the upper hand. First off, he destroyed the airship that brought them there, with the rest of the crew still on it, so they won't be able to leave the island. Then, he went head-on with Katara, bombarding her with all the ancient skills he got. On short notice, the rest of the crew joined Katara in the battle against Taga, but their combined strength was still no match for his fury. While the fight was going on, Aang eventually got access to the staff, a feat no avatar has been able to achieve since after the time of Sonam. Using a massive burst of air energy, the first person Taga took out was Zuko by blasting him hard to the floor. Then he went for Toph next, after which he took out the rest of the team with a single blast. Immediately, Aang laid hands on the staff. Taga appeared, laid his hands too on the staff, and tried to convince Aang they can do this without the others. Aang refused to do it without his friends, so Taga took the staff from him. According to Taga, all the other elements have ever been is a threat to the air nomads, so they need to build a new future that belongs to and is controlled solely by the Air Empire. During the talk, Aang discovered what Taga had done to his friends, so his annoyance drove him to the Avatar state, and he attacked. The fight lasted for a short period of time, ending with Taga defeating him the exact way he did his friends. After defeating Aang in the Avatar state, Taga took Appa and flew away. Taga met with the Denied while they were struggling at the eye of the immortal storm, telling them the Avatar is dead, and if they want to build a new world where they won't be powerless, then they should join him in his quest to conquer the world. Aang managed to survive the blast. Then he started blaming himself for everything that happened so far, starting from when he escaped when the Fire Nation attacked. Just when he started crying, Sonam's Avatar spirit appeared and joined him. Sonam was disappointed when she heard Aang release Taga, and when blame started going both ways, she told him the true story of Taga. According to Sonam, Taga wasn't always a monster as he is now. He was a different man in a different time. Then, the Airbenders were the peacekeepers of the four elements. But with time, the Earthbenders formed their own separate kingdom and revolted against the world. To keep the balance, Avatar Sonam learned from the lion turtles how to channel the energy of the spirit world to give people the power of airbending, and the very first person she granted that power to was her most loyal pupil, Taga. But it wasn't long before the new Airbenders faced the brutality of the Earth Kingdom. The slaughtering of the Airbenders made Taga's heart darkened, making him see any other benders apart from air as the enemy. Taga begged Sonam to use the staff to wipe out the other elements, and as she refused, he took matters into his own hands and stole the staff. Taga connected the staff to the temple, but his energy was so corrupted that the power of the spirit world consumed him. He became an entity too powerful to kill, so Sonam used all her energy to trap him high above the clouds, where no one could find him. Sonam was weakened by this time, so she sent the remaining air nomads to the clouds and hid her temple in a place no one could ever access the staff powers ever again. After the story, Sonam insisted Aang needs to get her staff before Taga connects it to the temple, but before Aang could tell her to help him find a way back, he started dying slowly. His spirit was drawn to the list of avatars that have died, but on short notice, Katara was able to revive him with the spirit water surrounding the temple. Aang was immensely surprised to see his entire crew was still alive, and when he asked how, Katara explained how the spiritual water strengthened her healing abilities. Looking for a way to leave the island, Aang summoned an old friend from the spirit world, the ocean spirit. All of them jumped into the ocean spirit's mouth, as it was a portal for them to get to the spirit world. On getting to the spirit world, they discovered that it has lost balance already, and it showed in the forms they appeared in. It happened that using the staff, Taga was bringing the entirety of Sonam's temple to the human realm, and it is his energy that disrupted the balance of the spirit realm. On spur of moment, a spirit named Gorillavark fell from the temple in the sky. Aang revealed he's the avatar and begged TGE spirit to get them to the temple. But on hearing this, the spirit ran about panicking. It was Momo who eventually convinced him to help out. Gorillavark swallowed them whole, then lounged them with his head into the sky till they got to the temple. They all regained their normal forms on getting to the temple, but they got there too late as the entirety of Sonam's temple was about to land on Republic City. Taga was about to stamp the staff on the temple, but the Avatar team came in clutch and attacked him. Taga resisted all their advances, as with a staff, he was stronger than all of them combined. By this time, Taga had already granted all the members of the denied the power of airbending, so he left them to deal with Team Avatar while he heads to the temple. While Avatar's crew went head-on with the denied, Aang chased Taga personally and went one-on-one with him. Aang tried to convince Taga there's a better way to do things, but he was so consumed by rage that he refused to listen. Meanwhile, back in Republic City, the famous Cabbage Man eventually lost all his precious cabbages during a fall. Seeing all the damage on Republic City, one of the denied named Kalak had a change of heart. Aang finally went into the Avatar state to face Taga head-on with full force. The denied finally cornered Zuko, Toph, and Katara, but just as they were about yo end them all, Sokka came in clutch with his air bicycle and rained bombs on all of them. By this time, Sonam's temple was fully settled in Republic City, destroying a lot of houses and places in the city. The denied all ran away, seeing the city was now doomed and in ruins, but only Kelak stayed behind to help Team Avatar save as many people as they can. Aang managed to overpower Taga during the fight, but instead of calming down, it only made him much more furious than before. Taga didn't even bother fighting anymore. Rather, he pushed Aang away and headed straight to the center of the temple, and immediately he got there. He stamped the staff there, releasing a massive burst of air energy. Through the staff, Taga absorbed the full power of the spirit world into himself, transforming him into an aggressive, vicious monster. Taga was now at his most powerful state while fighting Aang, but even at that, Aang refused to give Uo easily. Taga knocked Aang out of the Avatar state with his immense power, driving him so close to falling off a cliff. It was at this moment Aang saw how Republic City, that he worked so hard to build, has been destroyed. This XT moment was a turning point in the battle, as when Taga attacked, Aang was able to redirect Taga's most deadly strike and turn the tides of the battle. Taga lost balance, and Aang grabbed the staff immediately. Aang rushed back to the center of the temple with full force, and then stamped the staff back with clean energy. On doing so, Sonam's Avatar spirit connected with Aang's own, the most powerful Avatar duo to ever exist. Together, they blasted Taga to the ground with massive energy. Aang continued blasting Taga repeatedly, more than he wanted to, and slowly, the immense power was beginning to corrupt Aang too. Just when the power almost fully consumed Aang, and he was about to deliver the final blow, something inside him clicked as he saw an Avatar sign float in the air. He then had a vision of the peaceful lives the air nomads always lived, and also Monk Gyatso advising him to always do what his people would be proud of. In that moment, Aang had a change of heart. All the powers of the staff Aang wanted to use to end Taga, he redirected to breaking apart the staff. After applying much pressure, the aura of the staff changed for good, and it eventually broke apart into pieces. Immediately, it broke. The entirety of Sonam's temple started floating back into the spirit world, slowly. All those who were granted power through the staff instantly lost their bending. Taga instantly returned to this normal form, but it didn't stop there. The energy began absorbing him together with the temple. In the end, Taga finally understood all Aang had been telling him, and it was at that moment he evaporated into thin air. By this time, Sonam's temple had fully returned back to the spirit world, leaving Republic City in ruins. Katara caught Aang as he was falling down, and they kissed, with Sokka watching awkwardly. Avatar Aang had a final speech with Avatar Sonam, after which she joined her ancestors of avatars rightfully. The scene shifted to the new air temple Aang built up, completing Republic City as a city for all nations. Aang appointed new acolytes that will help preserve air nomads' culture for future generations, so they all prepared to head to an abandoned air temple to search for ancient artifacts. They got to the place on short notice, a place Avatar Sonam showed Aang, and no one has been here for over 100 years. They got to a place where there were hundreds of bison, giving Aang hope for the next generation of air nomads, and that was how the movie ended,